There are 21 dreams mentioned in the Bible, all of which hold some fascinating and mind-bending imagery that gets used as prophetic signs for the people of the Bible. The complexity of these biblical dreams are an intriguing spectacle to the reader with its rich and wild imagery leading up to a revelation. But I dream. Some beautiful dreams and some dark, dark dreams. But why? Am I missing something? Did I miss my revelation? Was there a purpose at all other than to shake my mind from its REM cycle? In this dream, I was portrayed as a fortunate enough to own a mountainside house. Mountainside as in literally carved into the mountainside. The home was beautiful. The exterior walls were full of large windows standing at least 10 feet high at the lowest point, reaching even higher as it climbed up to the vaulted gray slate and dark oak beamed ceiling. Although this house was so detailed and prominent to the opening scene of this dream, I wouldn't spend much time there, as I would have some family and friends over to hike up the mountainside. And one of these characters were familiar. It was my younger sister. Again, as some strange part of my lavish lifestyle of this dreamscape, I had a concrete path that led up the mountain, so it was less of a hike and more of a walk up the mountainside. Treading along the pale modernist installation, cut through the green lush forest like some river of stone laid there just because of its convenience for one man, we began our walk, making it up the first few sets of stairs before reaching a rounded corner that had started to degrade. Among the outmost part of the path were black industrial railing, creating a border between you and a steep hillside. As we rounded the corner, we noticed the severe degradation of the path, and it seemed to bend and crumble the farther along the path we looked. At this point, we started to tread slower and more cautiously, but out of nowhere, and without notice, a large black dump truck started to round the corner that we had just made. Strangely enough, I acted like this was a normal occurrence, and I asked my sister and other unfamiliar guests to step aside against the railing and mountainside. Most of the group moved to the railing side of the path, while I pressed my back up against the mountainside, trying to make way for the truck to pass. But I noticed the concrete path couldn't support all of us and the truck, so it buckled and crumbled under the weight, dropping the group and the truck down off the path onto the hillside, leaving only about a 3-foot path on the mountainside of the trail. I scrambled around looking for my people, but I couldn't see them. Then I heard it. A bear. Its growl and grisly panting could be heard from a mile away. It made its way up the hill and started to tear into the group below, but I still couldn't see them. So I freaked out and ran back down the hill back to safety of my home like a coward. The destruction of the path wasn't isolated to our location. It had affected the entire path leading all the way down to my house. Tearing off the glass exterior wall of the home, I climbed on top of the rubble and made my way into the home, still hearing the grunts and screaming and growling of the attack. Now at this point, I don't know how long I was in the house, but I soon gained somewhat of a poor excuse of bravery to walk back to where the events had taken place. There were no more screams or growls or sound of crumble rocks and scurrying bodies, but right there, where the horrors began, on the silver of path left attached to the crumbled mountainside, were footprints of red. Footprints I somehow recognized to be my younger sister's. Blood-lined footprints. I ran back to my shambled home and wallowed in sorrow. And the wildlife of the forest crept into the home, peeling back the barriers that I called home, now no more than the wilderness that surrounds it.
Dreams. That is what we are all talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Andrew. Who are you guys?
I'm
Ian.
Evan.
Hey.
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 It's been a minute, I think, since we last talked. Wasn't it like, because I had a trip. I was out of state for a weekend. And then last week, we didn't record last week, did we?
Mm-mm.
No.
No. It was 2 weeks ago that we recorded?
Yes. Yep.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Been a minute.
What's new?
Well, I guess. A lot. I mean, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So I started a new job.
Let's go.
Right.
Yes. I am a efficiency specialist for a home inspector.
Yes,
So,
yes, I remember.
Basically, I drive him around so he can like do reports and things, and then help with the unimportant parts or the easy parts of the inspection. So set up the ladder, basic data entry kind of stuff. So
Nice. Sounds
Wait,
fun.
when exactly did you start that? Was that like when I left or before?
it would have been last week. So the beginning of November, kind of like
Yeah.
one weekend to November.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, it's been good. I've actually kind of enjoyed it. And the person I'm working with is a Christian, so we get to have like
Nice.
really good conversations, and we get to
That
talk
helps a
about
lot.
business and stuff like that. So,
Yeah. That's
Nice.
it's a pretty cool opportunity. Did you connect with them? They're someone from your group, right? At church?
yep, someone from my community group at church.
Nice.
I just realized I can turn my camera back on.
Yes.
I mean,
Hey,
now.
there he is.
So yeah. I have an awesome community group. Just God placed. God,
Mm-hmm.
Needed that job, and so God's like, okay. I usually don't share
that's
like,
awesome.
I don't like to share my like needs because I don't like to be needy. But
Mm-hmm.
for some reason, at this community group, been like getting more involved and more
Mhm.
open with people there. So being
Well,
able to
good.
share
That's awesome.
difficult times with people, and then they get used by God to help meet a prayer need. So yeah,
Yeah.
been good.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Tis how the body should work, I think.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Of course, and he knows my like desire for the residency and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So if that happens, every time I have an
Mhm.
interview, I can take that time off, that kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
very good
that's cool.
for that. So
Yeah. Well, my life isn't as exciting.
sure it is.
We had a wasp issue.
Oh no.
We had these giant, they're called mud wasps, I'm pretty sure. They're huge, like brown and black wasps. And we had noticed they started coming in. We were like, man, I don't know where these things are coming from. So we, sprayed like 2 of them. We're like, all right, that should be.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do I see a bug on my window? Oh, no way. I'm like, holy cow. Speak of the devil.
They know.
No, but
Yeah. She knows.
so we had sprayed a few and we're like, okay, that's not too bad. So it was like around 9:00 the night before. So we like sprayed a couple and we're like, all right, oh, they're just coming in because it's getting cold, But we couldn't
Mhm.
figure out where they were coming in from. So we're like, all right, well, we'll go to bed
Ah.
and then we'll see if there's more in the morning. So we go to bed and we like sit up because apparently one had gotten into our room. So we had to spray that one.
Oh no.
So then, like, in the morning, we go out there and we're like, oh, there's another one on, like, the ceiling. And then another one shows up and another one. And we ended up spraying,
Oh
like,
my
probably
goodness.
25 of them.
Wow.
And so we're like, okay, we have to figure this out.
Yuck.
So we realized they were coming in through our fireplace.
Oh no.
And the people who own the apartments here, they have like a maintenance crew, and they were cleaning out the gutters. So we were assuming that if they have a nest up there, they kind of rattled them around. So that's why they were coming in.
Oh.
So we talked to our landlord. They got an exterminator over here. They sprayed some stuff. And then we got this fireplace cover. It's like Velcro and fabric, and it like lays over your fireplace to keep any drafts or bugs in. So we haven't had any problems since. And we've actually seen less bugs. So we usually get these little beetles that crawl in. And here in North Carolina, you see them everywhere. Their back looks like a shield. And they're like always crawling in. But ever since we put up that guard, we haven't had any in here. So
That's
seems
where they
so
all came
good.
from.
So
You're gonna take that
Fireplace.
cover off, and there's gonna be like a stack of just.
I know, that's what I'm
Yeah.
so scared of, dude.
It's gonna be full.
Yeah. And like we made up this like makeshift cover with like cardboard and tape.
Mhm.
And this was like before the exterminator got there, and you could like hear him like hit the cardboard like voop, voop, voop. It was so gross, dude. It was nasty. I'm like, they
You're
want
sitting in
in.
the living room like, yeah, they're trying to get us.
Yeah. It was nasty. And then like the exterminator was like, well, do you have one? I'm like, well, I killed him. I threw him in the trash. He was like, well, can you get it for me? So I had to like dig through my trash for a dead wasp to hand this guy. It was interesting. Yeah, but apparently that helped them identify what it was, so they could come back and spray properly. So
Interesting.
yeah.
And what
So,
was the like scientific name? Did they give it to you, or did he just like look at
No,
it?
they
And he's
just-
like, yep,
He was like,
them old yellow jackets.
And he's like, I'm gonna have to look at this. And then he just left. Like he didn't he just like left with the wasp in his hand. And then a different guy ended up coming back and was like, well, I'm here to
Oh.
spray.
Yeah, I
Maybe
don't
at a
even know
wasp
who
Why are you
you
making them? Were they all like super southern or something?
I don't know. It's just like I'm in the South, so I feel like it's
So it makes-
proper.
Yeah.
No, actually, I wasn't even here when the second guy got here. Katea was here, so. But he
Oh,
was.
yeah.
She was like, he
assuming.
got here and he was like, heard you have a wasp problem. She's like, yeah. Then he sprayed and he's like, well, if they come back, let me know. And then he left. So
All right.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
I mean, did his job.
yeah,
Yep.
I mean that's all I needed. So
Quick and easy.
yeah,
I'm glad that's fixed though. Yeah.
me too.
Mhm.
Me too.
That's
Horrible.
scary.
I mean, bugs don't really bother me. Like I don't go out of my way to like crush bugs.
Yeah.
But when they start like invading, like if there's a bug here and there in my house, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like a predicament because like I've always been like, well, I'll just throw it outside. But then like I learned recently that if you throw a bug outside, they're gonna die anyways because they can't adjust to that climate quick enough. So then they just
What?
die.
But what if it's like 70 degrees in your house and it's 70 degrees
Exactly. I'm like, if I just throw it outside, I'm sure
Hmm.
they'll be fine. So, yeah. But anyways, yeah, I don't really mind bugs, but when there's like an abundance of them and they're all over the
Yep.
place and I can't even sit on the couch without one flying into my forehead, then that's an issue.
Yeah. When they start calling your house their home.
outside? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, but it was
I
their
think-
home first.
Yeah. You know. Maybe.
We were given dominion, okay?
Oh, preach, brother, preach.
Anyways, Andrew, go ahead. What do you got new this week?
Well, you just reminded me of something that happened like over a decade ago, so I'll talk about that.
Okay.
Bugs invading. I don't know if I've told you this story. I'll keep it very short. Literally a sentence. At one point, I used to keep snacks under my bed during the summer. Me and my family. This is more than one sentence. We would get like individual snacks for the kids, so we wouldn't fight over whose was what. So I would keep my sugar cookies and stuff stockpiled under my bed. And I was on the second floor of this house. Somehow, a whole army of ants managed to get up to the snacks. And then when I woke up, I remember scratching my arm and I'm like, why is it moving? And then I lift up the
Oh.
sheets and it looks like I'm wearing a blanket. It was just ants.
That is
Oh.
so
Like jump out, flip
nasty.
out. I lift up my pillow. They're everywhere. The food is like getting all torn up. Oh my gosh! So I was covered in ants while I was sleeping, and it wasn't until like I naturally woke up. So there's that.
Bro, you probably swallowed so many ants.
Oh, I don't even know. There's probably still in my system somewhere. But
You are
the weird thing the weird thing is I wasn't too bothered by it. I was just like, oh man, my snacks.
Oh man.
No, that was Walmart sugar cookies, man.
Oh, those things are
sad.
killer, dude. Come on now.
Spicy Cheez-Its, what? Yeah, they took them all from me. It's an invasive species. But anyways, recent stuff that's been going on. I was on a trip out to Illinois to visit my older sister for her baby shower, and it was fantastic to get to meet my brother-in-law's side of the family and spend time with them and help her set up the nursery. She's due in January, kind of around my mom's birthday, so pretty exciting.
Let's go.
I'm looking forward to it. I've been sick since before then, and my cough is still lingering. It started off, it was kind of like pneumonia, but wasn't as bad as pneumonia, and then it was kind of as bad as pneumonia, and then it was like, oh, maybe you're going to get the stomach flu, but I never did. So now it's just like a cough and a runny nose. So
That's awful.
it's sticking around.
So here we are.
But it's all right. So here we are. Yeah. That's all I need to say, I think. I'm getting better, though, so it's good.
Good.
It is good.
Oh.
Dreams, dream. I have to make at least one reference in this episode to Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Oh, Max, and you and your dream journal. Taylor Lautner in your song. Thank you for that, gem. So, in honor of today's topic, my drink's already gone.
Mine too.
we drank.
Nothing.
We drank what I call the lullaby tea. So Celestial Seasonings, they make this tea blend. It's a herbal blend. No caffeine. It's called Sleepytime. It's excellent. It's got a mix of mint and chamomile. And for this drink, it's essentially a London fog, but you have vanilla flavoring in the milk and then a drop or two of spearmint oil or peppermint extract in your tea. So it's a little bit more refreshing. And it was quite tasty. It's a past tense thing, though.
It was quite tasty.
And if we all fall asleep halfway through this episode, you know why.
Yes.
Maybe we'll start dreaming, live dreaming.
Oh my god.
It's just us
Yes.
sleeping.
We're gonna talk about that live dreaming. Actually, dream visualization. I don't know why I said it so.
Visualization.
Visualization. That's hard to say.
Visualization.
Yeah, visualization. Dream visualization.
Visualization.
Yes. So that's what we're drinking today. It's a good one. The reason I wanted to do this tea is because this blend I have specifically is to help your throat. So hopefully I won't be coughing as much as the episode goes on. But also I didn't want to drink coffee at this time of night. So
Yeah. Thank you.
tea is better. Yes. It's a 10 out of 20. So
In Evan's words.
in Evan's words.
10 out of 20, that's like a
10
5
out
out
of
of
20.
10.
No.
It's
no.
actually really good, guys.
It is good.
You know what I meant to say.
I do.
20 out of 10 is what I
Yeah.
meant to say.
Yeah.
It's good. Try it out.
Yeah.
Try it out while you're listening. And check out the socials for the post. Next up, Evan is telling us about some rules before we start to talk about some dreams.
All right, the DIDAR. Don't you dare rules. So our first one is do not quote our teaching. We end up checking and talking about things in Scripture. So don't quote us. Quote only the Bible, which goes into our second rule: fact check everything with Scripture. Everybody has their opinions out there, and a lot of times online it's just opinion. So check it in Scripture, and then do your own research. We are human beings with finite brains. So please do your own research. Thank you. Oh, I don't know.
Thank you.
I don't know why I'm waving goodbye. We're still
Thanks,
here.
guys.
All right, guys. See you later.
Boom.
All right, guys. Now we're gonna move into the next section of our show, which has been changed to match the theme. We're gonna jump into lucidity. All right, guys. We're gonna go through some research that we've gathered. I know this episode, Dreams, has been a very we've been anticipating this episode. If you guys have been longtime Coffee Time listeners, you know that we did an episode about dreams way back, I think in season 1. It may have been season 1 or season 2. And ever since we did that episode, we were like, man, I cannot wait to do the next Dreams episode. And here we are in season blue. I mean, we're so far into Coffee Time, we're not even counting with numbers anymore.
Meta. It's meta now.
But
Use
like,
colors.
yeah, we're not even calling it Dreams Part 2 because we want you guys to feel a part of the conversation. We don't want you to feel like you've missed out on anything. So, we're gonna jump into
original
this
stuff.
like we never even did Dreams Part 1. So,
Truth.
I've got some research here that I would like to share with you guys, and then we'll go from there. So, I have these dreams that every once in a while I'll get a dream that I can remember like every point from that dream. And usually, now there's been a few dreams that have some exceptions, but usually these dreams have specific colors in them that are very memorable. For instance, and I'll touch on these few dreams later once we get farther into the show here, once we start sharing some dreams, but one of those colors is like neon purple. It's happened, let's see, 3 times, I'm pretty sure, so far. And it's the same hue of purple.
That
And
3
I'm
times
like-
that you've counted
Yes, that I've counted, right? From what
and can remember.
Yep. And this color purple is correlated to this big dream that I had. I've shared it with you guys before. It's called the Charge Society. I'll get to them later on once we start talking about dreams, so stay tuned. But that led me to think, like, how many people dream in color? And are we really dreaming in color? Or once we wake up, are we adding these colors in our memory to try and make more sense of the dream? So I was working with my dad today, and I was like, Dad, do you have any colors that like are super prevalent or prominent in your dreams that you can remember? And he's like, to be honest, I don't even think I dream in color.
What?
And that led me to search this up. I'm like, this is so interesting. And one thing that I noticed is looking this up, and I think looking up some research for dreams the first time we did dreams, one thing I've noticed is that article to article, the graphs and different percentages and research, like article to article, they're always different, which is really interesting. So for instance, I looked up, do we dream in color? And the verdict was that some people do, some people don't. But the range in this was pretty crazy. Okay, so from Science Direct, color was found to be present in about 82.7 of the dreams. This was made in 2008. Keep that in mind. 2019, this article by medium.com, there was research done in 1943. 277 college students tested, 70.7 reported rarely or never seeing colors in their dreams, whereas only 10% reported frequently or very frequently. Now we jump to 2022. Only 17% of people said they never or rarely saw color, while 56% saw color.
Interesting.
Which was very interesting. So then it led me to this article. It's actually that same article from 2008 on ScienceDirect.com. The proportion of people reporting color dreams even decreased in the 1950s. So 1956, a guy named Knapp claimed that as little as 15% dreams contain color.
Did you say
Well,
a guy named Nap?
Yeah, Knapp.
Okay, I thought you said NAP, and I was like, of course.
Nap. Dude, I didn't even make that connection. So 15% of dreams were in color. In 1958, found that only 9% of people reported color. In another test, only 12% recognized color. And this goes on, and it just ranges like crazy. 17.7% of U.S. college students say they rarely or never experience color dreaming.
Huh.
Um,
Is this
Yeah.
recent data for that one?
that was, let's see. When was that? 1942.
I think I remember like seeing a video or something, and it said that people who grew up with black and white TVs
Yes.
dreamed more frequently in black and white
Mm-hmm.
than those who grew up with a color television.
Yep.
Hmm.
And now here we are with everything being very vibrant and bright. I mean, we have devices in our pocket that are constantly shooting colors that are like, ooh, dopamine. Yes, I love that color. you know?
But I mean,
Yeah.
the world is in color.
Yeah.
That's the
yeah,
thing.
So, I
Why
mean-
were dreams
Absolutely.
in black and white if the world was in color? You know,
Right.
it's just
And-
as much
and, like,
input.
Why is TV so influential to that specific thing?
I don't know.
Yes, to your subconscious thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
Whether or
Maybe,
not dreams.
maybe
are
there's something in
subconscious.
yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe that's like
Maybe
a
there's
trigger
something
that
to
runs a little
that.
deeper. Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
that's a psychological warning that we should heed.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we
There's
shouldn't be
impacts we don't
staring
know
at a
about.
screen all the time.
So, my question was, do you guys have any dreams? So mine was purple, and
Right.
from what I can remember, the majority of my dreams, I don't think I can think of a dream that is not in color. Some dreams even some of them even looked like there was like some sort of filter on them, like
Yeah. Yeah.
one dream was like, you know, the golden hour filter where everything's like gold and like prismatic and everything's kind of
Yeah.
shiny and glowy.
Mhm,
I had a
mhm.
dream that looked like that the whole dream.
Wow.
And so I don't know if you guys have any colors that reoccur that trigger specific meanings, or if you guys have, if you guys don't dream in color, do you guys, let me know, what do you guys think?
I was gonna say you're the Snapchat generation, Mr. Filter Boy.
Yeah, so you
Holy
can think
cow.
of
Golden
prismatic
hour.
golden
Golden
hour.
hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Mine.
crazy.
I most color. Mostly, all my dreams are color.
Mm-hmm.
The like brightness, I guess you could say, or contrast changes in my dreams. So sometimes I'll have like dark dreams where like everything's kind of like you turned like the contrast down on your TV.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it'll be like really bright and vivid.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I've also had a black and white dream.
Wow.
And it was like set up like an old cartoon where
Oh,
like
that's
even the camera would like change to a different scene.
Uh huh.
And then it would show you the environment and what's
Uh-huh.
going on in the environment. And then it would show you, then I would be like in my body and I would
Yep.
like navigate the environment and stuff.
Wow.
It was
So-
actually like a very depressing dream, but it's okay.
Well, that's horrible. That's interesting though, that like your mind correlates black and white with like old timey, like old film. That's interesting. Like even
Well, it's
subconsciously it makes
Like,
that
you know, the Mickey
connection.
Mouse Steamboat
Yeah.
Mickey or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
even
That
like the
type of
lines
animation.
running across, like, and you
Yeah.
could like see in between frames and stuff. Like that's like what it was like.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
And like even
you
like the
gave me-
movements, like not the people, but like the movements of the environment were like that. Like it was like
Oh,
you could see the shutter.
like it was hand drawn animation, film roll shutter.
Yep. Yep.
Wow.
Dang.
And so, what is it that causes our brain to develop images that way? We'll talk about the origin of dreams later on, but something you said, the fact that you have almost like a contrast dial for your dreams. That's intriguing because I've wanted to recreate some of the dreams I've had as short films, cinematically. I just work as a videography project. I am sure that there are different lighting modes in some of my dreams, and there are dreams with different locations, different people, but very similar circumstances. Even if it's like a totally different world, the circumstances are similar, and those dreams will have the same lighting effects. Saturation is so and so, brightness, contrast, the vignette, sharpness, grain, all of these different, you do the hue as well. I bet that you could, if you spend enough time, dial in a camera to look the way that your dreams do. And then when you record, it will look like something you've dreamt. I kind of want to try that now.
Yeah,
But yes,
That'd be sweet.
yes, I have varying contrast in dreams. Typically in the same dream, I will have a very bright scene. Not in that there's like a ton of sunlight, but the brightness is just up. There's not a lot of dark parts of the image. It can go between first person and third person. Like I'm in my body or I'm watching myself do something. Or it'll be incredibly dark. Very, very high contrast, not a lot of light coming through. And then all of a sudden it'll switch back. That happens a lot in some of the same dreams. As for colors, I don't have a consistent color. I have never had a black and white dream, but there are some dreams that I've had where there have been only one color, and then the rest is grayscale. Excuse my coughing. Never a fully black and white dream. Those colors are usually warmer tones, red or orange.
Interesting. Oh, okay.
Like on this topic, it's kind of on the same line, but I noticed that most of my dreams have a lot of environmental like reveal. Like
Really?
usually my dream will start with like setting the scene.
It's expository.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like, oh, here you're in this broken down building or dilapidated building or whatever, and it has sand dunes, and now I'm in my body, like
That's so interesting.
with these people. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess I
wants
never
you to
really
know where you're
realized
at.
that.
So it's
The
like
location
it's like
apparently is
cinematic.
important.
Yeah.
You know, like cinematically, that's how scenes really work. You set the scene, and then you have your characters there. You know.
Yeah.
Interesting. I know there's a few dreams, like the dream I mentioned in the cold open, that was like heavily built on environment. Like I can remember the exact environment.
Yeah.
And there's another dream that I'll talk about later that correlates with that purple color. That is like super. Actually, all three of those dreams with purple in it are very environmental heavy, which is really interesting. So yeah.
Because you don't see
like
purple
cinematic.
environmentally a lot, right? Purple
Right.
is typically a color that's manufactured. I mean, you have some
Right.
flowers, quite a few flowers, maybe grapes, things like that, but there's not a lot of just purple that occurs a lot.
Yeah. It's such an interesting contrast to like the dreams. Like
Yeah.
you have this this pretty environmental dreamscape that's like pretty realistic. I'm sure if I were taken back there, if I could go back to that dream in a more conscious state, I'd be like, oh, that's weird. That doesn't belong.
Yeah.
There. But like from what I can remember, it's like pretty put together, well put together, like like a movie set.
You should definitely try to build that in Unreal,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Dude, that'd be
See if-
sweet.
even if it's just for
Now-
like a screenshot or something.
Yeah.
A screenshot. Imagine a game developed called Dreamscape or something, and then you can, like generative imaging, right? You input the description of your dream, it creates an environment based on that. And something interesting, Ian, you said, if you were to go back to those environments, you're almost sure to recognize that something was out of place. There's some neuroscience behind this that we'll get to later. I'm gonna briefly touch on it right now. That's because when you're asleep, your prefrontal cortex, your fact-checking part of the brain, quote unquote, your conscious self, quote unquote, is dampened or deactivated when you're asleep. So your amygdala, fear, emotions, that part of your brain is the most active along with your brainstem when you're asleep. which is why a lot of things can fly in your dream that wouldn't fly when you were conscious. You'd start to flip out.
How weird. Interesting.
So, following the conversation about color, a very interesting thought occurred to me earlier this week when I was at work. I've been collecting research on dreams for a while because I love this topic. I love it very much. This was the question. Do blind people dream visually? People who have been blind from birth, can they dream visually? They have no prior experience of seeing things, so there's no memory of an image. What do they actually see in their dreams? And according to West Texas A&M University, they dream with images just as much as a person who has never been blind. Someone blind from birth dreams visually, just like someone who is not blind from birth.
Do they know what it looks like?
That's exactly it. If you were to ask somebody who has no reference to what an image is, do you dream visually? Someone who's been blind from birth, they're going to say, well, no. That's not because they don't have visual dreams, but because they don't know what a visual dream is, right? They don't have reference. It's like trying to explain the color red to someone who's been blind since birth. You don't have a frame of reference for it, right? So in the same way, they could be dreaming the exact same way as you. Scientifically, that's proven when they measure which parts of the brain are active during sleep and during a dream. It's the exact same as a person who's not been blind from birth. It's the exact same process. And so there's something more to dreams than just that which we experience in our conscious life, which leads into two schools of thought when it comes to dreams. This is a bit of an extensive explanation. I don't know if you guys want me to go into it right now or if you guys have other thoughts about the fact that blind people dream visually as well.
So they dream and they see stuff, but they don't know how to explain it.
Apparently, one of the
pretty
things that's
wild.
interesting is there's such a thing as dream and thought visualization.
Visualization.
Visualization. We'll blame it on your cold. We'll blame it on your cold.
Yeah, man. I've been illiterate since birth. Technically, it's true. Dream visualization. There's actually a way based on, for example, an MRI takes 30,000 little dots from a scan of your brain, electrodes, and then it can map that to a computer. The computer can interpret those electrodes firing and create an image. So telepathy is real now, where you can measure somebody's thoughts. It's like if you remember the very first version of generative AI, like Wombo AI on the iPhone.
Oh, yeah.
Those super kind of abstract, blurry images when you give... There might be a little bit of vague recognition of your prompt. That's what it looks like, this thought visualization. What's interesting is all of the research on that is from at least a decade ago. 6 or more years, really.
Oh, interesting.
There's nothing that I can find recently. I don't know why. But thought visualization, yes. And dream
Nailed it.
visualization, it's a thing. You can measure, based on somebody's brain activity, what they're thinking about, what they're dreaming about. And there have been MIT inventions which can actually externally influence the direction of someone's dream. But that lends to some basic questions about dreams. What are they? What is a dream? What causes it? And there's two main schools of thought. So Sigmund Freud, Venetian psychologist, wrote a book called The Interpretation of Dreams, often considered the foundation of psychoanalysis. And he stated that your dreams have a meaning. You're not just dreaming as a neurological byproduct. Your dreams are actually your subconscious urges, wishes, and desires surfacing as images. And so if you're able to pay attention to those, you can look into your dreams and you'll be able to discern some things that are going on inside of you that maybe you couldn't when you're conscious. He broke dreams up into two categories: latent content and manifest content. If I have a dream that I'm running away from crocodiles, the manifest content is running away from crocodiles. But what does that mean? And that's the latent content. Does that mean I am anxious about somebody who is competitive with me? And that's how Sigmund Freud looked at dreams, and quite a few people do. The other school of thought is analysis, synthesis, hypothesis. It's a lot of is. it's an epiphenomenon. That's what they say dreams are. It's just a byproduct of your brain doing other stuff. Dreams don't have a purpose. It's just essentially a neurological accident. Your brainstem is active when you're asleep. So is your amygdala. There's electrical signals firing back and forth. Your prefrontal cortex, your conscious self, is pretty much deactivated. It's dampened when you're asleep. And so these electrical signals are picked up by your prefrontal cortex, and it's like, okay, I don't know what to do with this, and it gives you a dream, essentially. Some people say that what your brainstem is doing that's creating those electrical signals is it's categorizing memories. Things that you've experienced, I want to keep that. Things that aren't important, we'll throw that away. I don't need to retain that information and clutter the brain. Other people just say it's just your brainstem doing brainstem stuff. But under this school of thought, your dreams are very much just a result of the inputs of your conscious life. So if I experienced something pretty scary, I might have a scary dream. If I had a really good day, I might have a really good dream. You know, if I dream about eating a whole lot of cake, maybe it was my birthday earlier that day and I ate a whole lot of cake. That's kind of the idea, is that your dream is just like a recycling of what's gone on in real life. There's fallacies with both of these, though. You could probably pick up on this intuitively based on your experience, but there's a fallacy to both sides. Freudian psychology. It's not enough to say that dreams have meaning in the latent content because all of them are fueled by your unconscious wishes, desires, and thoughts. Because very much, scientifically, it's proven that your brainstem is active while you're asleep. And so things that you have experienced will show up in your dreams as a result of those electrical signals firing, which is why often you dream of stuff, a whole slew of stuff that's happened in real life. The epiphenomenon school of thought, what's the problem there? Well, if dreams are based entirely on real life experiences, how do children have dreams about stuff they have never seen, experienced, or heard of? Their brain can't invent that information. Where does it come from? So there has to be something aside from conscious experience and personal desires that influence where we get our dreams.
Yeah. Same with like being blind, for instance. Like the fact that they can visualize and see things is a pretty potent point.
Yeah. Crazy thing about blind people, just as a side note, and maybe this has something to do with it, and maybe they'll discover this later on. But I listened to a podcast about the circadian rhythm, like your internal clock. And it depends on like whether you see the morning sun or the evening sun or both. And they said that there's like these cones in the eyes of even blind people that are active and register whether or not they've seen the morning sun or the evening sun or both. And they can actually set their circadian rhythm even in a blind person just by being outside in the sun.
That's crazy.
So maybe they do see subconsciously, like they're seeing things their brain just doesn't know how to
actually
show
interpret.
it.
Yeah.
Yo, I'm having deja vu right now.
Well, I am too. Okay, hold on. This is crazy because that's my next point. I'm not even kidding. I have sat here and we've recorded this episode and Evan has told us about that very thing. Ian, what is going on, man? Okay, this is what's really shocking. One of the most fascinating points of research that I've dug into is déjà vu. What's interesting is that as I've done research and just had general surveys talking to people that I know, friends and family and coworkers, almost all of them, when they have déjà vu and I ask them what causes that, they say, well, it feels like it's something I've dreamt of before. There's nothing scientifically that says that, and none of the information was corroborated, and I asked the question at random. So how is it that, generally speaking, like nearly everybody answered the same, oh, it's from my dreams? How can we get to that conclusion? Like there's nothing that would actually suggest that in experience at all, but there's something that goes on in our brain that makes us think, well, logically, I've dreamt this before. As I researched that, there's actually a term for that. Instead of déjà vu, which in French means already seen, it's déjà rêvé, already dreamed. It's a different phenomenon, but people usually attribute the feeling of déjà vu, or déjà rêvé, to déjà vu. But it's really unique. Both of them, most people psychologically don't quite understand. It could be a familiarity illusion, something where your brain actually is a little slow in processing what's actually going on. So your visual processors are running faster than your your conscious processors, and so it's like, oh, I've been here
You're
before. but it's
remembering
like,
something as you're experiencing it.
yeah, exactly. So it's really interesting, Ian, that you and I just got hit with deja vu as
That
Evan
is
was
so
saying
weird,
that.
yeah.
As soon as he started saying, I listened to a podcast about the circadian rhythm. I was like, what is going on? And that's the
Yeah,
feeling you
that's
get
what I
when you have
thought.
deja vu. You go, oh, wait a
Hold
minute.
on a second.
Either I've been here before or I've dreamed about this. Why do we think
Mm-hmm.
that we've dreamed about it? There's something psychological going on that we can't understand. Neither can the best neuroscientists. That's why I love talking about dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very
I
fascinating.
actually asked my dad about around the same time when I had asked him about colors. I'd asked him if he gets deja vu very often, and then he said that is the same thing you said. Like he's like, yeah, sometimes I dream about stuff and then I'm there.
Right, but
And-
why?
and-
Why do we say that?
And a lot of the time he's like a lot of the time it's work related. So I'll dream of fixing a house or doing a house, and then I'll be in that moment. I'm like, oh, I remember having this dream.
Right. But there's nothing in our actual memory that could suggest or prove that
Right.
we've had that dream. Like, I can remember other dreams. No time that I've had deja vu can I remember actually dreaming about that. But I always attribute it to
Right.
that. What is that about?
Yeah,
And it's
I
not
don't
just
know.
me. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of people.
Yeah,
So that's
it's
worth
pretty
checking
crazy.
out.
I had one moment where like, and obviously I can't prove this because I didn't speak out on it, which I should have. But I was at work, and I can't remember what was said. It was I was working with somebody, and they were asked to do something, and I was like, oh, I remember being here, and in my head I'm like, oh, he's gonna say no to this, and just a few seconds later he's like, no, I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, if I would have said that out loud, I would have just predicted like
The future.
my deja vu. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
but I didn't say it out loud. So now am I just like thinking about it, and now I'm tricking myself into thinking that I could have done that?
Right.
And it was a really weird experience, you know?
It's like experiencing real life lag.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's the thing: is that sometimes I'll remember something, and then I'll remember past a certain point, and it's usually like something weird happens, something terrible happens, or something like that. But that doesn't happen. It's like I remember up to a certain point. It's like, oh, I'm getting deja vu, and then there's like this intersection of like the deja vu ends, but I remember past that. But then like it's not happening in reality. That's
Oh,
only
how
happened a couple
weird.
times.
Like an alternate reality. You're like, oh, well, I thought
It's
that was
like,
going
oh.
to happen.
And I'm sure you could graph it because I feel the same way. You have, the beginning of your graph, I'm experiencing deja vu. Your understanding and recognition of it increases, and all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah.
So,
That thing that like
yeah, that
it's like
intersection,
the
whatever it is.
predictability ends.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like your brain's not letting you continue to have deja vu.
Mm-hmm.
How weird.
But it's weird that I have like a thought about what happened after. It's like, oh,
Right.
after that intersection, I'm like, oh, I remember what should have happened, but it didn't happen.
Right. But would you say that that's a distinct thought from the feeling of deja vu?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's like weird. It's like I've seen this before. I know what's gonna happen. Intersection happens and it's gone. They're like
Yeah.
that feeling's gone, but I know like the rest of the story.
Right. And then it doesn't occur.
Right. Thankfully, because a lot of them are terrible.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Some people say that dreams are essentially our subconscious self preparing our conscious self for danger in real life. Evolutionists will say this. We evolved to dream in order to train ourselves. And that's why I usually have fearful dreams, anxious dreams. I'm preparing for the worst in my dream so that when I'm awake and I have to go out into the wilderness and survive as a caveman, I can fight off the saber-toothed tiger, take out its teeth, and make it into a weapon. It's this idea.
I mean,
there's-
maybe though.
Maybe. Like,
Maybe there's
that could
some
be part of
truth
it
in
too.
it.
Maybe Freudian and then epiphenomenalism converges with the evolutionary, quote unquote, aspect of
Yeah.
dreams.
Yeah.
Even though I disagree with evolution, there's adaptability, and there have been dreams which have warned people. Joseph, for example, Mary, the mother of Jesus, her husband, the man she was engaged to at least at the time, he got a dream. And that dream said, hey, don't quietly divorce Mary. Jesus is from God, essentially. He's like, okay. And then, hey, flee to Egypt because Herod wants to kill Jesus. And they do. And so there are warnings which come through dreams, but it's clearly not from experience that's happened. Because Joseph's experience was, I'm going to do something other than what it is that he heard in his dreams. And the dreams actually were accurate warnings because there was danger or...
Right.
Yeah. And so there's something more than just our brains and just our experience at work when we're dreaming, which is why I think it can be dangerous to look too far into the latent content of your dreams and what they mean. Because you could have a real good influence helping you in your dreams, and you could have a real dangerous influence in your dreams.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Does
Well, that just
anybody
goes
else-
back to it goes back to checking scripture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna
Absolutely.
base your dreams off of like, oh, I just feel like these dreams are like God speaking to me, it's like,
Right.
well, your dreams still aren't gonna contradict the Bible. So, if you're having a
Yes.
dream and you think it's from God, bring it to scripture, see if it lines up.
Yeah.
Spend some time in prayer.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Is interesting studying the neuroscience of dreams. Obviously, most scientists who are also people who do not believe in God will say that a person is just the physical self, right? It's just your brain, which is active, and that's the only thing that's measurable. Scientifically, you can observe and repeat experiments where you measure a person's brain activity in sleep when they're dreaming. That's something that you can experiment with.
Mhm.
You can't measure a spiritual influence. So it's harder to scientifically prove that. But we know biblically that there's spiritual influence in dreams. Either God appears to people or he sends messengers, his angels, to tell somebody something.
Right.
And I was talking to my mom about this yesterday at lunch. And the question came up essentially, well, psychologically, that would all be happening in your head, right? But just because it's happening in your head doesn't mean it's also external. There is absolute possibility, the definition of God, right? He is God. He can do what he wants, essentially. It's an uncomfortable definition, but it's how it is. So absolutely, he could manipulate the psychological activity and the neurological activity of our brains in order for us to have a dream, which is a message from him.
Right.
Right. And so
Oh, yeah,
even
no
in the
doubt.
measurable neurological activity, you can't just dismiss God in that by saying, well, it's not spiritually measurable. God absolutely has the ability to control the way your neurons fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, he made them, so why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one more thing I want to mention. Have you guys ever heard of the Dream Bank?
No.
No.
I discovered that there are several sleep experiment subjects, people, who are recording their dreams, and there are websites that collect these dreams. They catalog the individuals with their name, their age, circumstance, other personal information about them, and then the number of dreams they have. Excuse me. And they're categorized by the level of dreams they have. There's like avid dreamer, lucid dreamer, dreams like this. Dreambank.net is actually a website where thousands of dreams and dream series are cataloged by people who can remember their dreams very well. And you can search through their dreams for dreams that you've had. You can use keywords or look through series and say like, okay, I had a dream about an underwater maze that I had to navigate. It was pretty intense. You can type in those words, underwater, maze. It will look for those two cases, case sensitive. It checks, the dream series you've selected, and it will find dreams that mention that.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And on Dreambank as well, I've read parts of the website which say that it's not the only dream collecting website. Apparently there's others. I didn't know that this was a thing, but there's tons of dreams Over 20,000 dream reports, it says on the title page.
Dang. Have you looked up anything on there?
I have. It's really interesting. There are some people who like consistently have a certain type of dream. And so you can associate that with that person and their personality. You're like, okay, this person dreams about this sort of thing a lot. Or this person dreams about this sort of thing a lot. You have people who have recorded like over 1,000, over 2,000 of their dreams written down.
Holy
That's
cow.
pretty impressive to me because I can maybe remember dozens throughout my life.
Yeah.
Thousands is absurd. Some of them are short descriptions, not much going on there. They're kind of bland. Some of them are really intense and specific and long reports, but there's thousands of them from the same person. And to think that you can have that many dreams and to measure them, that's like if you were to have a dream once a night, right? Once a night. That would take you several years to write down 2,000.
Mm.
And it's not likely that you'll have a dream every night. So this is cataloging dreams and collecting them and reporting them to the Dream Bank website for years.
It's crazy.
That is pretty crazy, dude. I didn't even know that was a thing. I should look on there and see if...
Yeah.
I don't know how the search worked. I tried it with just like one of my dreams and I couldn't find anything. But
Yeah, it's confusing. The way it's programmed is not very intuitive. It's like it
You
was
can't
programmed
select
while somebody
all
was
things.
asleep.
yeah.
They dreamt up the website.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's also interesting. Even just the title and the feeling of the website, there's almost an air of like something sinister there. It's like, why are you collecting people's dreams? It's really uncanny.
Interesting,
But it's cool.
yeah.
And I thought I'd share it with you guys because just another part of the dream iceberg that's like, why does this exist?
Yeah, runs super deep. Alrighty. Well, do you guys want to... We've done some research. We've discussed some stuff. Does anybody else have anything to share?
No, I think that covers most of the research things. Let's talk about some dreams that we've had.
Let's do it. Guys, we're going into the REM cycle.
That's the sound of entering the REM cycle. That plays.
Every
You
night,
just
every
forget
night
about it.
you fall asleep. Yeah,
I'm sure for somebody it has.
like the Diet Our song.
You can check it on the Dream Bank.
Yep.
Okay. Do you guys want to start off, or do you want me to start off with the one I was hinting to earlier?
You should go with the one you were hinting to earlier because I'm very anxious to hear about it.
Okay. So I was talking about this vibrant, neon, almost pink color of purple. And this color of purple has showed up 3 times from what I can count. I don't know if it'll show up again. Maybe it'll never show up again. Maybe it'll show up even more frequently now that we're exploring it a little more. Maybe it'll pop into my head a little more often. But the first time this showed up, okay, now I've had quite a few dreams. I could probably name, 15 dreams. Apparently that's not a lot for the dream bank, but this one dream shows up. I'm kind of in like this desert landscape, and it's, you know how in the summer when the sun starts to set, the moon kind of shows up in the sky and like a few stars peek out, but the sky is still blue?
Yeah.
That's kind of the setting that I'm in. So the sky is still blue, but it's dark. The moon's out. There's like a couple stars here and there, but I'm in this sand dune. Okay, and I'm at the bottom of this very tall dune. It's really like a hill, basically. And at the top of this hill, I look up, and there's this neon purple light shining down from the top of the hill, like illuminating this slope all the way down to me. And it's not from a first-person perspective, but at the same time, I couldn't see me. But when I remember it, I know I was there, if that makes sense. So like
Mhm.
it's almost like if you set up a camera and I stood off screen to the right. Like I knew I was there and I knew I was looking up, but I couldn't tell I was there. It's kind of a strange phenomenon. It's almost like I was looking through a camera, like directing. I'm like, okay, go stand over there, and this is gonna happen. But
Interesting.
this purple light's shining down. Sorry,
hello.
there was a really high squeal, and it's a car outside, and it really scared me.
I was like,
I'm like, what is that?
oh no, the wasps.
Dude, it was so loud. It sounded like it came from like across the room. I'm like,
Oh,
but anyways,
It's them.
no,
Yeah, it's them.
no. So, you guys will know what they're talking about when they say them. This light, whoever's in this light, whoever's shining this light, says something along the lines of, "We are the Charge Society, and you've been trying to get to us in every dream you've ever had, but you always die before you can get here." And then the dream ends. I'm like, what?
And so technically, that's another failed dream by the Charge Society's
Yeah,
ruling, right? Because you
I
didn't,
didn't
actually
make it to
up to.
right.
But now you know of their existence, right? And so it's
I know
almost
their
like
existence.
a paradox where now that you know they exist, you're gonna try even harder, but maybe you'll still keep dying.
Right.
It's almost like you'll
Right.
be looking for them in your dreams. Would you say that's happened? Like you've looked for them in dreams? Has that?
I totally do look for them. So like one of my most
Wow.
recent dreams, which I'll get to that in the third one, it actually took me most of the day. I'm like, holy cow, the lights were purple.
Oh.
Mm.
And I'm like, it's the same purple. So anyways, the next dream I had, actually, another thing that's interesting about dreams, and I mentioned this in the first dream episode, I name things in dreams. So I'll, like in my dream, not when I'm awake, but in my dream, things are named, which is really interesting. So like Charge Society, it's like they named themselves, right? It's like
Mhm.
it's like this own entity or like own person,
Like it exists
somewhere
outside of
deep
your
inside
dreams
the
and made an
labyrinth.
appearance.
Right. So the next dream that I had that had purple lights, and the purple lights don't actually show up till the very end. And this was actually one of the landscapes I was talking about that was super realistic. So we used to live in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and we lived up on this hill. Like, you just drive down the hill and you're in town. You're not really that far out of town. But when you're on this hill, it seems like you're kind of outside of town. And I remember being there, and there was snow all over the place. So everything was snow. But there was nobody out. There was no people out. There were no cars out. It was dead silent. And I was there with my family. It was my mom, my sister, Evan, you were there, and Gatea, and my dad. And we were in our house, and we had this big concrete slab that was tipped up on its side. And you walk down into this bunker, essentially. And we were preparing for something. Now, at the time of this moment in the dream, I didn't know what we were preparing for, but we were down there and we make this like water distillery, and like I remember the water, like making this water distillery machine was like watching a YouTube video tutorial. It was super like vivid. And I don't know if I had seen something about it. I don't know if you've seen that video of like when you take 2 glass bottles and you put water in one and you heat up one, and the condensation builds up in the other bottle, and the condensation's the clean water from the dirty water. We basically made like a large scale that.
Okay.
And we were preparing, and we were like, we got to get ready. We have to make sure everything's ready for when the floor burners get here. We have to make sure everything's ready for when the floor burners get here. And I'm like, okay, yeah. Like, yeah, of course we have to get ready for the floor burners. So we climb up out of this slab, and my mom specifically mentioned for some reason, she's like, we're going to set that concrete slab down on top of the entrance so the floor burners can't, because they can't burn through concrete. So we're like, okay. So I'm like, me and Katea, we're going to go get some resources to fill up the bunker so that we're really prepared for when these floor burners show up. And we go outside and we see this lady in the distance walking with her dogs. And we're like, hey, you gotta go get inside. You have to hide and get ready. And she like doesn't look at us, and she just keeps walking faster and faster until she just starts sprinting away. And then we had realized that she was luring us out to where the floor burners were coming. And these ships, like flying saucer looking ships, just like shoot down these huge plumes of like fire, and they just start like burning down the neighborhood that we're in. So we like run back to the house, and we like close up the concrete slab, and then it cuts like a movie to like a past shot. So like in the past tense, like this is where the floor burners come from. And this big airship opens up its giant corridor, and it drops out these flying saucers. And I don't know if you know those oscillating fans that kind of like swivel back and forth. They're like rounded on it. Like imagine taking just the rounded cage off and the blade and flipping it on its side and making it all out of chrome, and then adding these purple lights on it. That's what their like ships looked like. They would fly around these things. And there they were, the purple lights on the ships. The purple lights were on the floor burners themselves. And yeah, and like the bottom was like this huge flamethrower that just like burned everything. And there's a few more details in there. Like in this past scene, I see one of the pilots die in his ship. He's like, as he drops out, he like kind of falls out of his cockpit into the blade, and it like splits him in half. It was really gory for some reason. It was such a strange contrast, but it shows that, and then it goes back to them going towards this big city, something like New York, I don't know, some big city. But that's where they started, and then that's where the dream ends. So there's the purple lights again. I'm like, there they were on the ships. There's the purple lights. And then most recently, which is one I can't remember very well, I was directing a music video. And there was music playing in my dream, and it was a Christmas song, and it had a female lead vocalist and a huge orchestra, but I can't remember what the song sounded like. But one of the scenes I was directing was I put all of the entire orchestra on like these strings on this platform, and I hung them over this like raging river, and it was like pitch black out, and like it was like a raging river like in this super sheer like rock canyon, and the lights on the bottom of the platform illuminating against the water was this purple neon light. And then it just like I'm like watching them all play the music, and it cuts to a couple other scenes where I'm directing it, and then I wake up and that's it. Yeah. So it's super interesting. It's like I'm like, I know it's the same color, but there's like no correlation between it. And what's interesting is I did survive those two dreams, which is interesting.
Really?
Well, you woke up.
I woke up, so maybe I ended,
Maybe.
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if like you were to look at it from the perspective that it's almost like following an animal's tracks when you're going hunting. You know, if you successfully make it through a dream, you get closer to finding the Charged Society again, and you might see traces of their purple light and different things. And if you were to think about that, that means the Charged Society has been where those dreams occurred. Maybe they're not there now, but at least they were at some point.
Right. They're there at some point, yeah.
It's so interesting that you've named things in your dreams. I actually, now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever named anything. Not a person, not myself, not any situation, not any place in any of my dreams. There's never been a name, which leaves an almost ambiguous sense about everything. Even people that I know and recognize in my dreams, they don't have names.
Yeah.
And it's like I know them, I know their name, but they don't have a name attached to them. So it's interesting that almost in a sense, the Charged Society named itself as a separate entity inside of your dreams. Like it's just something that's been there.
Yeah. And same with like floor burners and like a ton of other dreams where there's these like monsters or characters that are like the main antagonist of the dream. They're always named, which is interesting too. Yeah. But yeah, that's the dream I was alluding to earlier. The Charge Society, which is my most fascinating dream, I'd say.
It still fascinates me.
Yeah. But I'd love to hear some of your guys' dreams. So do you guys have any prepared?
I have a couple, I think.
All right, let's hear it.
I like to name my dreams stupid things. So,
Floor burners ain't that cool.
well, I named my dream like The Lion, the Witch, and the Josh Hutcherson. So,
I think that's fantastic.
and it's not really like a dream. Like, I've had dreams where I can like remember things and like the story, and it feel like it had meaning. This one had no meaning at all. I don't think. So I was in my small town in Wyoming, and there's like this intersection. It's a 4-way like light system, and it's the downtown area. And so it was weird because it was that city with that exact street and that exact intersection, but the architecture was like from like London, like British. So like different in that sense. And on the light, I was sitting in like a tractor like bucket, like a scoop that was like on 2 chains, like a swing. So like on either side of the lights. And so I was in a bucket. And then next to me, there was like a regular swing in the middle. And Josh Hutcherson wasn't there for some reason. And he was on the swing. And then there were 2 like females in the other tractor like scoop. Like shovel scoop. Like it looked like ridiculous. And actually drew a very rough, nasty looking sketch for that. But anyways, it was raining. And then in the window, when I like looked over into the window, there was Aslan. And he was talking to us about something. And yeah, so just like this outrageous dream that had like no meaning, but it was just super vivid and like it was weird because it was familiar, but like everything was different at the same time.
Nothing made sense.
Nothing made sense. And so yeah, that was that dream. And then actually most recently, because I started this new job, I did have a dream of just working my job.
Oh,
and
nice.
I think
that tends to happen to me too.
I think that just comes down to like you want to do a good job, and so you kind of are thinking about it even while you're sleeping.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I told this one before in our first dreams episode, but I think it would be interesting to go over it again, just in that black and white dream. So like I was saying, there's this like, it started out with me and my family trying to escape something. So we were in this room and we're like, we got to get out. We have to go. And so there was somebody chasing us and they had a gun. And so my family went this other way. And I was like, I'm going to go this different direction and try to like get them to come this way. So I climbed over these boxes and climbed out this little window at the top of the room and like jumped down. And it went to like this scene where it looked like a train depot. And so there were like 3 train tracks, and this was all like black and white. Like if you were to turn like your white all the way up and your black all the way down. So it was kind of like bright, I guess you could say.
Okay.
So anyways, there's just 3 train tracks. There was a train on one of them. And I like jumped down and I'm running like around this train depot and I can see it from like a top down perspective. So I'm like running around while this person is chasing us or chasing me and shooting at me. And I see my family go and they're like safe. But then I get shot like by this thing. But it was like kind of comedic and kind of terrible at the same time.
Holy cow.
It's because the bullet was like the size of like a half-gallon milk jug.
Holy cow.
And like when I look down, there's just like a hole there. It's like not bloody. It's not like anything. It's just like a cartoon. Like there's a hole.
Got hit by a Mario bullet.
And I was like, I'm dead. And so I like laid down and I was dead. And then I found out who the person was. And it's like crazy because it's like, was like my oldest brother. Like he was the one chasing me and like doing all this stuff. And it was like super crazy. And
Dude, what?
depressing and dark. But it was weird because I woke up from that dream and I could feel like where I had been shot.
Oh.
Yeah, yep.
There was one other dream too that I got hit by a sword and like this like person was coming up and like hit me with the sword and I could feel it go like halfway through my body and then I woke up and I had like pain right there, like exactly where they hit
I've
me.
had that before too.
It was crazy. I was like, dude, if he would have kept going, I would have died for sure.
That's insane.
Yeah, anyways, shorter dreams. I know, I think I went through my like, you guys should go listen to the other dream episode, even though we kind of told you not to. But if you enjoyed this one or are enjoying this one, you should definitely check that other one out because I went into more details of my like, some like more spiritual dreams, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Man, that's pretty intense.
It's
Yeah,
really
they're kind of
interesting
ridiculous.
the physical influence that your dreams have, but that you always tend to wake up like just in time almost.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, good thing
weird.
I woke up. So it's like it's just like when you sleep, you go into a vegetative state, right? It's
Mhm.
because of the way that your brain
Sleep
functions when you're sleeping.
paralysis.
Literally, yeah, it keeps your body from moving because if you were, dreaming about fighting a bear, and you could move, you would destroy yourself and everything around you.
I've
And
done
sometimes
that.
it only dampens
Yeah.
your senses. So Ian,
Yes.
Right.
Has
I'll tell you.
experiences of
I'll tell you
hitting
guys a couple funny sleepwalking moments. Once Andrew goes over a couple of his dreams, I'll give you guys some of those.
Mm-hmm. Sleepwalking is a whole different. I almost said bag of worms, can of worms to open. Because
Bag of
could be a
worms.
bag of worms.
yeah, because what is it that causes a person to essentially override their sleep paralysis so that they can move, a physical response to something they're dreaming about, and then you witness that and you're like, I wonder what they're dreaming about, and hope that they can
Yeah.
remember. And a lot of times they don't. So it's very fascinating. One of the cool things that I have learned, is that when you talk about dreams or you listen to people talk about their dreams, you remember a whole lot more of your own.
Mm-hmm.
Even if the dreams that you've had and they've had have nothing in common, you'll still remember some of your own. And this week, I actually remembered a dream that I had, I think, when I was maybe around probably age range of 7 to 10. So over a decade ago, I had this dream. And I can still picture 3 main scenes from it very clearly. The feeling that I got from this dream is something that has come up in a lot of my dreams. And I was able to come up with a term for that feeling and essentially be able to map it to new dreams. When I think about dreams that I've had, I'm like, yep, that checks out there. Yep, that checks out there. Yep, that checks out there. And it's almost like the greatest percentage of my dreams are associated with this feeling. And so here was the dream. I am driving along. I'm in the back right seat of my parents', I think we were in our black Jeep at the time, or our minivan. And we're driving along a forest road. This forest road is like 2 separate roads. There's a dividing median. Both of the roads are raised in this forest. And so what you have is you have one road with its guardrails, those metal guardrails, and that's a 2-laner. going one direction, and then there's a median, and it's just a drop off. Underneath these roads are stilts, which are lifting them up, and then the trees are still way taller. In the middle, it's just like a dark drop off. The other side is a 2-laner highway with divisions that goes the other way. It's a one-way. And there's some streetlights littered throughout the lamps, or throughout the trees, which illuminate the path. It's a very curvy road. We're coming around curves, and I'm watching almost from the perspective of the hood of the car. And then from just above my left shoulder is my perspective, and I fall asleep in the back right corner. And I go to lean my head on the door, and I continue to lean, and continue to lean, and continue to lean, until I realize that I've leaned through the car door. We were in the right side of the right one-way lane. And I fall through the car door, out of the car. It didn't open. I fell through it, literally through. And then I fall through the barrier and through the road. And I land disoriented. Shake myself off. I look around. It's a perfectly flat dirt area. And it is like I am on the inside of a tree. It's bark. It's like if you were to take a tree and invert it. So you stand on the inside and there's bark on the inside of the tree. And when I looked down at what I was standing on, it was kind of like the tree rings, but it was just mostly dirt. And I look up and I can see the edge of that, that highway and the street lights. And so I looked for my parents' car, just kind of trying to peer essentially from underneath this road in this little dirt area. And they just keep driving. They didn't notice I had fallen out. As I turn back around, the area is very dimly and softly lit with like a kind of warm orangey beige tone. And now there's 3 paths in this bark of this tree. I would say it was maybe about 8 feet tall area, and all of a sudden there was a ceiling, and there's 3 paths, essentially tunnels carved out into the bark of this tree, and following the path it looked like it was essentially walking on the inside of a hollowed out root. It's 3 paths. I look down, and there's these essentially like cartoon characters. They're completely non-Euclidean, so they're like really strangely geometric characters with very eccentric features, like really big eyes or a really big mouth. And they come over to me with their very strange voices. I'm just like now sitting up, and they tell me the first thing that they tell me is you can't leave anymore. Like you've made it in here. This is where you'll be forever now. There's no escaping this area. But they didn't pose a threat to me, and I knew that they were friendly. And so they started to guide me through this tree and root system underground. It's all warmly lit. Some of the tunnels of the roots were darker, but I knew that I was safe with them, even though I was trapped. And that's what the feeling is. The feeling of being safely trapped. You've left a condition or the normalcy of life that you were in. There's no way to return to it, but you're not in danger anymore, even though you are unfamiliar with the people, with the place, and it feels like you're in danger. You're safely trapped. And that's happened in a lot of my dreams. That was one of the first ones where I could really picture that. And it's the dream that gave rise to the term safely trapped.
Interesting.
And recently there have been dreams where excuse me, a lot of non-Euclidean worlds. So like you're constantly approaching a certain fixed point in the distance and you never get closer. One of those was this dream of just essentially walking in this incredibly dark ashen landscape. The ground is, hills and plateaus completely made of ash and dark stone. The sky is dark with clouds, and the only thing that's illuminating it is a bright red sun. And it looks like the sun is dripping almost. It's like dark in the center of the sun, red around it, and dripping down to the earth. And there's a gate that I can see in the distance right under the sun. And I'm walking on this kind of torn stone path by myself, ever continually towards the final gate, which is right under the sun. And I never make it, even though it feels like I've been journeying for years and decades and centuries. Never actually make it there. And so I'm trapped. There's no progress. There's no change. I can't go back to the normalcy of life. And I'm alone, but I'm not in danger. There's nothing dangerous there. I don't notice any thirst or starvation or anything. There's no threats from the environment. I'm safely trapped. And then there's a lot of dreams I've had recently that's very liminal, liminal space, that kind of oddly familiar, strange thing where it's like the location that you're in is a collection of mishmashed places you've been before. It doesn't really, the geometry and the physics of the whole place doesn't really make sense. Like, you'll be walking through one room and then you're in another place that you've been, and you walk through there, it's another place that you've been, or at least feel like you've been.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no real danger in it, but you know that you're trapped. There's like the conscious feeling while I'm asleep that I'm stuck and I'm never going to get out, but I'm not in immediate danger right now. There might be danger out in here where I'm trapped, but I've yet to encounter it. I'm safe, but I can't get out.
What an interesting concept.
Yeah.
I don't know
I don't want to.
if there's any dreams off the top of my head where I have experienced that exact feeling.
It's very strange. It's the frequency of it that's interesting.
Yeah, very
I'd say
interesting.
most of my dreams they have like a definite start and end, like, and there's progress. Like, there's a story.
Right.
Yeah.
My
Which is
dreams never
interesting.
usually have that. There's like maybe a start, maybe an end, or maybe the center, but never really all. But there is often the feeling of being safely trapped, whether it's at the beginning of a story, the middle, or the end.
It's an interesting way to. Like, I might even think about or try to remember how I was feeling, like, during a dream, because a lot of times I just I don't really get scared of like creatures or darkness or anything like that. And so, like, I don't ever feel like fearful, but I don't really know how I feel. I just remember, like, I'm walking through this story. So it'd be interesting to figure out like what kind of emotions I'm having.
Yeah. It's an interesting second layer to the dreams. Sleep Foundation defines dreams as, visual, emotional, or even intellectual experiences while you're dreaming. So it's not just what you see, but what you physically feel and what you emotionally feel, and what you're thinking about. In a lot of my dreams, I am thinking. Like the way that I think when I'm conscious, it's the same way that I think when I'm in my dreams, regardless of what context I'm in. If it's that I'm walking around some really cool old city, I'm thinking like I normally would, with the thought process that I have when I'm awake. And so it's like lucid dreaming, but not in the same way. As to where I'm conscious and able to control the dream. It's like I've been placed there. My conscious self has been placed into a world that my subconscious created, and I'm just walking around in it.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Huh. Yeah, I can't think of any that are like that. That are like safely trapped. Most of my dreams have a danger. Like, you need to avoid that, or this thing is coming, or this thing is chasing you. So
Right.
that's interesting. It's interesting to talk about it because there's such a contrast and uniqueness to like everyone's dreams. Like, there's different aspects, colors, sounds, names, story, scenery. It's all different. Like, it's so interesting that there's not a big thing where you're like, oh, yeah.
Right.
It's interesting. Well, I would say that I sleepwalk / sleep talk / sleep other things as often as I dream, which scares my wife a lot. I think I've mentioned a few of them last time we talked about dreams, but I'll just run through those ones real quick. One time my trash can was whispering to me, and I had to walk over to it and punch it to make it stop whispering because I wanted to go to sleep. It's not that it was scaring me or that it was saying things that I didn't like. It's that I was annoyed. I'm like, you better stop. So I went over there and I punched it and it stopped. So
So weird.
And then another time, my wall was like knocking. So what did I do? Punched the wall, and it made it stop.
Okay.
One thing that's really weird and probably not a good thing is when I sleepwalk. I don't know. There's a strange aggressiveness to me when I sleepwalk.
Mm-hmm.
One time, and this is gonna sound horrible. People are gonna be like, "It's just an excuse, man. I swear it's not. Okay, I'm sleeping. Okay, I promise." One time, I ran my elbow up my wife's back. I was like, "Bam!" Like right up her back. She was like, "Ian," and I didn't respond. I was just asleep.
Huh.
And then recently, this story is crazy. Okay, I get up out of bed. I pull my phone off of my charger. And now, mind you, this is a wireless charger. So you just set your phone on it. So there was no reason I needed to get up and pull my phone off my charger to try and get it to charge again. So I get up and I walk over there. I pull it off the charger. I'm like, man, this thing won't charge. I'm like putting it on the charger. I'm finicking with it. And so I throw my phone down to the side. I pick up my wireless charger and I tear it in half. I throw it onto the ground. I'm like, Katia, my charger's broken. That piece of trash doesn't even work. And then I went back to bed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I wake up the next morning and I'm like, man, I broke my charger last night. Katia's like, yeah, you ripped it in half. So I had to go buy a new charger because my charging port's broken. So I have to use wireless charger. So we're like hunting for this wireless charger, and it was quite the fiasco.
Huh.
When I'm not being strangely aggressive, though, sometimes I'll just say random things. Like one time I told Katia we have to unplug the microwave. One time I just sat up and looked at Katia and was like, they're coming. And then I went back to sleep. And then one time I sat up and like turned to Katia. And I know people say you can't sleep with your eyes open. But Katia swears that I sat up and stared at her like with my eyes open. Until she was like, Ian, you gotta go back to sleep. And I went back to sleep. And then sometimes there's this weird moment where Katia is able to talk to me while I'm sleepwalking. So sometimes her thing is, Ian, are you actually awake? Or are you just like sleeping awake? She's like, are you actually awake? And it never helps because my answer is always, of course I'm awake.
Right.
Yes, I'm awake. But then she asked me the next morning, she's like, do you remember me asking you if you're awake? I'm like, no, I slept right through the night. And I'm pretty sure I get it from my dad because my dad said that he sleepwalks as a kid.
Used to.
Yeah. Yep. So I probably got it from him. Not sure why it happens, but yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Tore the whole thing in half.
Yeah, just snapped it in half. I'm like, oh, this thing's broken.
Wow.
Piece of trash.
Sleepwalking and that sort of thing is super interesting because like the things that are going on in your brain are so irregular from normal sleep. But to you, who is the one sleepwalking, it's still just like normal sleep from your perspective. Something totally different is happening.
Now, every once in a while, I'll be sleepwalking, and I'll be sleepwalking enough to the point where I do eventually wake up. So, like, one time, again, it's always with noises. I heard, like, something knocking on, like, tapping on our bed frame. And so I, like, put my leg over Katia's legs to see if it was her foot, and it didn't stop. So then I had to, like, actually wake up in order to realize that it wasn't actually happening. And another time, we used to have a TV in our room, and it had a little red light on it. And one time I woke up, and I thought that someone was shining a laser into our room, like an assassin. And I was, like, freaking out, and I was like dodging it. Like, I was trying to avoid being hit by this laser. But eventually I just woke up and realized that the moving of the laser was just the perspective shift of me moving my head, and that the laser was actually just a light on my TV. Yeah. So I eventually just need to wake up. Like if I don't go back to sleep and fall out of sleepwalking, I eventually just wake up.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's like you kind of wonder if something is triggering it, right? Is there something consistent which causes it, or is it totally random?
Right, right.
Yeah. Most neuroscientists, though they can measure stuff now with brain scans and whatnot,
Yeah.
still don't really have a complete picture of what dreams are.
Or like
Or
a
why they
reason.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's why I love talking about it, because it's like it's all a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is like the fact that it is a mystery is also a warning in and of itself. You never give your trust away too quickly, especially not when it comes with dreams, because nobody actually really knows what's going on. So
Yeah, totally.
don't rely on that too much.
We ran this episode pretty long. Maybe we'll upload the full thing. Maybe this will be in 2 parts. I guess the listeners will know when it comes out. Yeah. Well, thanks, guys, for joining us on this dream adventure. We hope you enjoyed hearing us talk about dreams, our dreams, the research we did, and the strange worlds we explore while we're sleeping. If you guys have any funky, weird dreams, we'll be posting some stuff, some teasers, some clips from this episode. So feel free to comment those on YouTube or Instagram. And yeah, thank you guys. We'll catch you in the next one. Hey guys, thanks for watching today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to check us out on Instagram at CoffeeTime_official. We have some bloopers, deep talk, funny clips, recipe videos on there. And be sure to check us out on our other social platforms, YouTube, CoffeeTime Official, and our podcast platforms, CoffeeTime Official. We appreciate you guys stopping by. We hope to see you in the next one.